The question is, what is the relationship of religion and science, or more specifically, Islam and science? Now, there are several possible ways of relating religion and science, and Islam and science. One can either see a conflict between religion and science, as this is the case for neo-atheism, or one can put religion and science into watertight departments. One can construct a wall between religion and science and can say religion and science have nothing to do with each other. Religion is playing another game and science is playing another game. So let them do their own thing. And this is a useful strategy to avoid conflict between religion and science, but it also prevents a real dialogue between the two if there is that possibility. And the third option, aside from the conflict and independence, this watertight department business, the third option would be a dialogue between religion and science. Here, religion and science can talk to each other, on certain topics, can benefit from their accumulation, and can construct worldview together. And this is another possibility, and a lot of people now are actually trying to build an authentic dialogue between religion and science. There is also a fourth possibility that is more philosophical, maybe metaphysical. One can do this. There are some apparent conflicts between religion and science on certain issues. If one can elevate himself to a level from which these apparent conflicts are resolved into compatibility, then there's that possibility too. But this requires deep philosophical and metaphysical thinking. There are some apparent conflicts, but if you think hard enough, and if you think systematic enough, and if you know really what religion is about and science is about, if you truly master the two fields, then these apparent conflicts can resolve into compatibility. It's about knowing the nature of scientific activity and nature of religious thinking. So I gave you four possibilities here: conflict, independence, dialogue, and integration of religion and science in a larger metaphysical framework. So a religious person, a Muslim in this case, can follow the last two options here. When a Muslim can envisage either a dialogue between religion and science, or an integration of the two in a larger metaphysical framework. And Islamic philosophy, Islamic theology, and Islamic spirituality are actually giving us a lot of tools to construct that framework in which religion and science can coexist, can actually help us to construct a really comprehensive worldview. Now, this is the first aspect of this discussion. The second thing, and this is, I believe, is the most crucial part, when we read the Quran and when we look at the prophetic traditions, this is what we see. And I can say this as a physicist mathematician, a former physicist and mathematician, and a current religious scholar. There is in the Quran and in the prophetic tradition no detailed, and this is a very important word here, detailed, there's no detailed cosmic story. Yes, the Quran teaches us how to read the cosmic science, the cosmic ayah. Say, we look at the sun, we look at the moon, we look at a flower. There we can extract the divine names. We can extract that divine, the sacred content in the cosmos, which is hidden in the cosmos. And Quran teaches us how to do that. It teaches us the language that cosmos speaks, that how to extract that sacred content from the cosmos. You look at the sun and you see divine majesty, divine power, divine knowledge. You look at a flower, you see the divine beauty, the traces of divine beauty, the traces of divine knowledge, the traces of divine subtlety, the traces of divine compassion and mercy. You look at these objects and you can see the traces of divine names and qualities, and the Quran teaches that. But the Quran and the prophetic traditions they do not give us a detailed cosmic story. Say they do not talk about this, how now the chemical and physical reactions taking place in the sun, or the physical nature of the moon. They do not talk about these details, and this is really important because science does talk about these details. It's science business to fill these gaps, as if the Quran leaves this intentional gap, gives you the gist of the issue, the gist of the cosmos, and leaves the details to human beings, rational and empirical research, and that is what science does. And why this is important? Because if you understand this, there can be no real conflict between Islam and science. Because in the first place, Islam is not presenting you, is not forcing you to accept some agreed upon cosmic detailed story. Since it leaves a gap, you can fill that gap with your scientific research, and that is absolutely fine, and there's no reason to be concerned about the data a scientific research produces, the conclusions of scientific research. Say this is a quantum theory or chaos theory or evolutionary theory even. Since there are no agreed upon, there is no agreed upon and cosmic detailed story, you can actually be comfortable with any scientific theory, so long as you know how to extract that sacred content, how to read the divine science. Everything, according to the Quran, everything is a signifier. And so long as you know their symbolic value, and you know how to go from the signifier to the signified, that is God, there is no problem. And there is no reason to be concerned about the conclusions, the teachings of any scientific theory. And one last thing, any scientific theory also lends itself to multiple philosophical and theological interpretations. If you see a conflict between religion and science, this can mean two things. You are either looking at a problematic philosophical and theological interpretation of a scientific theory, or you're looking at a problematic interpretation of the sacred text. This seems to be the case in most cases.